Hello guys, welcome back to my next episode about beginner's guide for FENIX Airbus. I would like to clarify the fact that this tutorial is meant for the absolute beginners or people who are just starting with flight simulator or those who are interested to fly with airliners. And my intention about all these videos I'm actually making for you guys is to make it as simple as possible, like literally the easiest way to follow the video without any additional complex explanations. We are holding here at the threshold in Dublin Airport, runway 28 left. If you look over here, this is our flight plan, right? We have some restrictions over here, but bear in mind I have turned off all the traffic, I have turned off all the ATC. It's basically just us in the airplane and flying from point A to point B. Alright, we are about to take off. Normally in real world scenario, right, or if you are flying with the ATC, at this point I would have contact tower with the radio, okay, or using the ATC third-party programs, and I would ask for permission to take off. This is actually the part where a lot of things will happen in a very short time. So we have to be focused at this part of the flight. Of course, as a pilot in real world, we have to be focused all the time. But for you guys who are watching this video and who are trying to learn, you have to make sure you catch everything what I'm doing and try to pay attention, because within a short amount of time, loads of things will be happening. So our airplane is set up. I'm just gonna remind you, auto brake set on max, which is right over here. We have our initial climb to 7,000 feet. And we do have a flaps 1 for today's departure. And we're gonna take off with manual flex, M flex, okay, not toga, M flex. So if I zoom in over here, we're gonna take off for this detent, M flex. And what else? We have our spoilers armed, which is basically this, right? This means arm, this means disarm, so armed. They have to be armed. And we're going to turn on the landing lights. Also runway turn on lights. From the taxi lights, we're gonna put it TO. So all the way up. So basically all these switches are kind of switched up. And the strobe on. And depending on the nighttime or anything, you can also mess with navigation and logo lights, which is right over here. And pretty much we are prepared to take off. So I'm going to release, let's just pretend we did get the permission to take off. So I'm going to release the parking brake. I'm gonna add a little bit power so we can line up at the runway. And I'm going to stop when I'm ready to take off. And I'll give you some additional information. So as I said, please pay attention, because I think this is the most crucial part to learn. To understand how many steps you have to take as you are taking off, what to watch, what to pay attention to basically get comfortable. How does it work? All right, I'm gonna release the power on idle. Just gonna slowly line up on the runway. Okay, just about anywhere here will stop. So I apply the brakes with my rudder pedals. If you need to do last check, please do so. Before I'm gonna actually take off, I would like to summarize quickly what is expected now in next few seconds as we are going to climb, and what will happen and what to pay attention to, okay? So obviously we're gonna apply some power. When it reaches to 50% N1, then I'm gonna release the brakes. Also, I'm gonna push the stick down and keep it down with my hand until we reach about 80 knots, okay? This is pretty much standard. When we reach 80 knots, I'm gonna slowly release the stick into neutral position, continue increasing the speed until V1 and rotate, okay? Notice one thing, okay? Also, before I take off, notice something. As soon as I apply man flex, the auto thrust, which is this button over here, if everything you set up correctly in my previous video when I teach you how to set up the airplane for the flight, the auto thrust will lit on, or basically it will engage automatically, and that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so I'm gonna apply some power. I'm gonna basically move the thrust a little bit up. I'm going to wait until the engine spool, and then I'm gonna release the rudders, I mean the brakes, with my pedals, and I'm gonna let airplane speed up into desired speed, and I'm going to scan this area over here to make sure that I know when the V1 and rotate is reached, so you can basically take off. As we are going to start taking off and the speed starts increasing, we're gonna have to watch and make sure that we know where is the V1 and rotate. So at that point of rotate, we can take off. I'm going to tell you, of course, and you're going to see a little, kind of like a little triangle, purple. And so pay attention to that, okay? So there we go. I'm gonna apply stick, push stick forward, and really then apply some power, usually N1 50%. Release the brakes and go all the way to man flex. Notice that auto thrust lit on, it was engaged. So let's keep it center line. Let's keep an eye over here at the same time as well. And when we reach about 80 knots, I'm going to release the stick into neutral position. There you go. Keep it center line as much as possible. This is V1, that little one with light blue, and the triangle, it's rotate. Okay. V1, rotate. Let's smoothly take the nose up. You see this cross over here? We have to follow it. So now I'm flying. It's not on autopilot yet, and I'm going to take I have to take the gear up, of course, because we have a positive rate of climb. So I just did gear up, okay? And keep flying, following the center. So you are following the profile, right? Over here. And when this changes to CLB, we're gonna have to pull down the thrust into climb detent. So keep an eye over here. Still flying manually. It start blinking level CLB, LVR CLB. So I'm gonna pull this to climb detent. There you go. I'm still flying manually. I'm trying to follow the center, right over here. So I'm following the flight plan, and I'm slowly increasing the altitude as well. And now, did you see that S, the green S? We have to put the flaps to position 0. Sorry, I got distracted a little bit, so I was a little bit away. And usually at minimum 1,500 feet, we can engage the autopilot, which I'm gonna do now. I could have done it earlier, but I was busy explaining the things. So now, when autopilot is engaged, the airplane is following the profile and is climbing into initial 7,000 feet, okay? Which we can see here, and we can see that also right over here. So notice the airplane is climbing up to this altitude and following the flight plan. Do you see? It starts turning by itself. So next thing we have to do, let's turn off the runway turn-off lights, also the taxi TO lights. We keep the landing lights all the way up to 10,000 feet. When we pass 10,000 feet altitude, we can turn them off. Okay, and the next thing, we have to also disarm the spoilers. So we're gonna push it down. All right, this is also important. Make sure that your flaps in position 0, which it is. And you see, when we changed it to climb detent, we're not gonna mess with thrust at all during the whole flight until pretty much the very last moment when we are landing, which you will see in future video, of course. So at the moment, we'll keep it all the time on climb detent, okay? Super important, don't mess with it. Next thing, I almost forgot. Do you see how QNH is blinking right over here? It's flashing. So notice how QNH is flashing, right? So because we have passed the transition altitude, which in Dublin is 5,000 feet, So as soon as we pass, we are currently at 7,000 because that was our initial altitude and we still follow the flight plan, right? But it's flashing because we have passed 5,000, which is the transition altitude in this area. So what it means, we have to set up barometric pressure into standard position. How we do that? We have to do it on pilot, co-pilot, and also in this instrument as well. So to do it, you have to pull like the knob. In this case, when the arrow pointing up shows up, you're gonna want to pull it down. So not up, but down. Okay, so click once with your left mouse button and standard is gonna show up. The same thing we have to do in Copilot, standard, and also over here. Click on it once and it changes to standard pressure. All right. So notice how the flashing QNH disappeared and STD lit up, which is confirming that we have changed to standard pressure because we have passed transition altitude. So the airplane is keeping up the altitude, right? But obviously we want to climb up. For the purpose of this video, let's just make it 36. Let's not go all the way to 39. So 36,000 feet and pull up. So when this arrow shows up, if you can see it over the altitude selector, you click once with your left mouse button and the controlled, which is like a little dot, controlled system is basically confirming that the airplane is following the data from the MCDU, and it's automatically going to climb and applying automatically the power. Basically, it's controlling everything, the thrust, the climb, the vertical speed, everything is controlled automatically. That's why the little dot is next to it, which is controlled climb. It's not an open climb. Open climb will be opposite, using the vertical speed manually. The same dots, you can notice that the dots are also next to the speed. We cannot see any number. And the same goes for heading, because it's taking, the autopilot is engaged, right? So all this data, where it's supposed to go, is it's taken from our plan, flight plan, MCDU. That's how the airplane knows what to do, right? Any restrictions are shown, like a next restriction would be flight level 230, but you can read everything from this PFD, primary flight display, right? So we are in climb mode. Thrust is set on climb detent, which is right over here, and that's all fine. And as I said, do not touch this, okay? Do not touch this until the very last moment, right before the landing. So at this point of the flight, we are climbing to our desired altitude, which is flight level 360 or 36,000 feet, right? Now, this is the important knob, well, it's good to know that by changing this knob, so if I go clockwise, 20, 40, 80, 160, I'm basically zooming out, right? So what it means that from the point where our airplane is, this is our position, right? This is where we are. This is where we're flying. So now when I switch it to 80, that means that I'm seeing the 80 nautical miles area around me from this point. From center to here, or to here, or to here is 80 nautical miles. If I want to see further, I would go, let's say 160. It basically zoomed out, and now I can see all the flight plan from our position, and then all the area within 160 nautical miles. That's how it translates from this knob, okay, to make it clear. If I zoom in, I would have to lower the number. So now I'm seeing from our position the next 20 nautical miles. So I can know straight away that more or less from where we are right now, the next point, ABGEP, is about 15 nautical miles, just about now when it reaches this area, okay, right now. Now we are 15 nautical miles from this point. That's how you can understand it. So I usually keep it zoomed out for the flight, so I'm kind of aware how is our flight plan. And we are climbing, and not much to do now except of course monitoring if you are about to use the ATC, making sure that you are changing to correct frequencies, but this is something you can learn as you advance to understand how to set up everything and to be able to fly from point A to point B. So we're just kind of chilling and let the airplane climb to desired altitude, right? The next thing I want to show you, kind of prepare you for what's gonna happen later. If we zoom out a little bit more, I'm not sure if you can see it well, but over here it's kind of covered with the same white line, but basically over here in this position or area we can see like a arrow which goes kind of straight and then slightly downwards. Maybe you can see it now a little better. Right over here, right? This is called top of the descent. So from where we are, about 80 nautical miles from this point where we are just now, we should expect our top of descent, which top of descent means that it tells us, okay, now you should start descending. In order to be on profile, in order to make it safe to your destination, you have to monitor it. You don't want to miss it and then not knowing that keep flying in the same altitude, because then you're gonna have troubles to descend properly. So in order to descend in correct profile and comfortably, we should be aware of our top of descent. To not make it super stressful later, we're gonna already prepare ourselves because we are just about those 70 nautical miles from our top of descent. So to make it easy for us, we can start preparing the aircraft for the arrival. So there are a couple things we have to set up, all right? Generally, the arrival and approach doesn't have to be set as you are standing at the gate of your origin airport. Yes, by any means, it can be done as you are sitting at the gate, especially in the beginning when you are learning. Please, that's fine, you can feel free to do so, but it can be also done during your flight, and this is what we're going to do now. So our destination is London Stansted, okay, EGSS. Now if I zoom in or zoom out, we can see that just about here is London Stansted, but we don't have any arrival set, any approach basically. So first thing, we have to look in our plan from the sim brief. This is the icon we want to look at, and then making sure that we are clicked on routing and impacts, and we can see our route over here. This is our whole route from departure to arrival. So expected runway would be runway 22 in London Stansted, and our approach will be Listo 1L, okay? This is what our arrival, will be like. So now when we know this information, we're going to our MCDU, we're gonna click destination, and next to arrival, confirm by clicking to this button. Click once. We're going to select the runway, which is ILS, in this case 22. So click on the button next to this information. And we have to look again what was our approach, Listo 1L. So again, by going down, because this is alphabetically giving us an options for approaches, we have to find that correct approach. So using the up arrow, I'm gonna click and I can see it right over here. This is the one we're looking for. I'm going to confirm by clicking on it. We will not use any transition, so keep it as it is. This was added in yellow color over here, and to confirm it you have to press this button, insert. So press it once, okay, like this. When you do that, if you now look, and I'm gonna zoom out in our plan, it's a little bit too far still, so you cannot really see it very close because I zoomed out, but we now added our approach and our runway. So now this plane changed, right? The shape of it changed, correct? But next important step, super important, is to make sure that we don't have any flight plan discontinuity. How to change it? As you are on flight plan page, then again use the arrows up and go down to flight plan and keep looking if you don't see any FPLN discontinuity. You may or you may not see it. And we do see it. So between this point of decel, which means deceleration, when it starts slowing down pretty much, and this point, shortly before the runway, or not too far from the runway, we have the discontinuity. If you kept it this way and you ignore it, when you get to this point, the airplane stopped following the flight plan because there is nothing. It basically means it's disconnected. So this point doesn't have any follow-up point. Technically it does on our MCDU, but there is a discontinuity in between. And we have to delete it, okay? How we gonna get rid of it? It's super simple. You press clear button once. It'll confirm the CLR message over here, or that's basically scratchpad. And then once you have it like that, you click next to FPLN discontinuity, to this button. Click once. It'll become like yellowish, kind of orange slash. You have to confirm it by clicking on insert on this button again. When you do that, I'm gonna click flight plan just to return to initial position where we are now. And I'm gonna scan it again by pressing up arrow to make sure we don't have any more. And notice now we have decel and it continues to the next point, which it's supposed to. All the way to runway 22. See? These numbers are over here, are the altitude or expected altitude. So I know pretty much without looking at the charts, I can already tell you without looking at charts that at this point where we are going to be established with the runway 22, we are expected to be at 2,500 feet. This is the number, okay? To make a comfortable approach and arrival and to be correct on the correct glide slope, we should be at 2,500 feet. So clicking again to flight plan, I'm gonna return to point where we are now, zoom out, and now we have our flight plan set. I'm going to also zoom in a little bit to make sure we are aware of our top of descent, okay? Because this is gonna become very important. So we have reached our cruise altitude, 36,000 feet. For those of you who are not aware of this little detail, if we zoom in over here, this instrument, we can see the 36,000 feet also, obviously. And here we can see it in meters. So if you are not aware how much meters it is, usually it's plus minus 10 kilometers. So we are currently at 10,000 meters, 10,973 meters. So almost 11 kilometers above the ground. 36,000 feet, okay? So this is written in meters. So basically just for your information if you didn't know.